Hi, in this video I'm going to answer a question that various people have asked us, and it's this: what is a motif? Well, essentially a motif is a short musical idea, and usually it's an idea that's repeated, developed, expanded, contracted, so it's a kind of compositional device. A lot of Baroque music is built out of little motifs, so it's a particular feature there, but essentially it's an idea that can be used in any style. And it's interesting how many 20th century composers have been inspired by some of the kind of Baroque motif idea to present something in a totally new and different style. So let's begin with a piece that I suspect most people know. It's the opening of the Alleluia chorus from Messiah by Handel. You know, the thing that goes like this. Now, this is kind of presented as block chords. Quite often in Baroque music, you get something that's much more contrapuntal in design, but here we just got chords, haven't we? But let's just consider for a moment the opening motif, the first Alleluia. Okay, now that I'm going to call motif A, and it's this one. I mean, I could write the pitch as well, but let's just consider it in terms of rhythm as a way of identifying it. Alleluia. So there's motif A. Okay, so the piece begins with motif A. Then there's a rest. What happens next? Oh, we get A again, don't we? So let's see if we can map the plan. We've had motif A. We've then repeated motif A. What happens next? We've got a new motif, haven't we? So we'll call it B. So here's motif B. Alleluia. And it comes twice, doesn't it? So we've had motif A, that's been repeated. We've had motif B that's been repeated. Okay, so let's see where this goes next. So from the beginning, we've got A, and again, B, and again, then we've got this. Now, is that motif C, or is it just a sort of closing thing? Let's see, it's this anyway. Okay, so you could call this motif C, or you could just say it's the thing that sort of closes off this first thing. So either C or a sort of closing idea. So from the beginning, we've got A again, B again, C. Now what happens next? Oh, that sounds like motif A. But is it exactly the same? No. Motif A has been transposed, isn't it? So it's now coming a little bit higher. And then what happens after that? A again in the transposed form. What happens after that? Oh, guess what? Motif B comes twice in the transposed form. What happens next? Motif C in the transposed form. So do you see how Handel goes about writing the opening of this? We're getting these solid chords, very kind of celebratory and declamatory for these words, Alleluia, that inspired the king to stand at the first performance, apparently. And so we've done it ever since. But it's all built out of these three motif ideas. So it's an interesting way to be able to analyze a piece when you see how it's developed from motifs. You could talk about what the relationship of one motif is to the next. You know, you've got a pair of quavers there, a pair of quavers here, you've got the use of quavers here. The Two semiquavers are a kind of diminution of the two quaver rhythm. And also what's distinctive. So the dotticrotchic quaver is a very distinctive thing in motif A that doesn't appear again in motif B or C. In motif C, you've got this little bit of syncopated rhythm that doesn't come in motif A or motif B. So you see how you could take three different threads, have some relationship between them, have other aspects that are independent between the three things, and then spin a musical design in this sort of way. As I said earlier, in Baroque music, it was often a more contrapuntal sort of idea. So, for example, when you take the 48 preludes and fugues of Bach and you look at fugue number 2 in C minor from the first book, you get a fugue subject that does this. Now you can see how that's motivic in a different kind of way, can't you? So we've got this idea. Two semiquavers, quaver, and then a couple of quavers. So you could see that as two ingredients. That's one, and here's another. Or you could say, well, that's kind of one ingredient made up of two components. But you see what happens next? So it's using the same thing, isn't it? But altering some of the pitch of the notes. So I've got the first statement. Then I've got the same rhythm again, same motif, but with altered pitch. But only at the end. So the first three notes are the same, aren't they? These three notes are the same. When it comes again, same three notes, two different notes in the same rhythm. What happens next? Same rhythm again, but slightly different notes, and it's extended. So I start with these shorter things and then I extend the phrase. So you see what I'm talking about, that you have a musical idea, a motif, a cell, whatever you like to call it, and you think, how can I repeat this? How can I develop it? Same rhythm, different pitch, maybe same pitch, different rhythm. How do I expand it? How do I develop it? How do I use it in sequence by transposing it in some shape or form? And it doesn't have to be in Baroque style. So if you're composing and you want to use a motif, here's just a little illustration as to how two of the great Baroque composers went about using a motif in slightly different ways. And I hope that's helpful as a kind of analytical tool in relation to music that you're playing or listening to. I hope it's also helpful as a kind of compositional tool, an idea to work with.